All right, let's get the show on the road, shall we? I'd like to be the first one to welcome you to your session today. And just to let you know you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about how leaders influence emotions, how emotions motivate people, and then how those people drive performance. Welcome. My name is Megan Billnoske. I'm coming to you live from my house in Tomball, Texas, and I sincerely hope you and your family have stayed safe throughout this crazy 2020. Throughout today, my goal is to engage your ideas, share things that I've seen, and let's work together and have some fun use of some technology along the way. On the slide here, you see that I'm a talent development manager at Oceaneering. And my email's there, so if you have, feel free to reach out if you're inclined to do so. I'm happy to always chat and connect with people. Now, if you've never heard of Oceaneering, we do some really cool things. I'll give you 3 examples just to kind of light your fancy, if you will. So one of the clients we support is Disney World. We actually work with Universal Studios and help with them with their engineering to create the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park. We do rides like the free mobile ride, where if it moves around a ballroom type, we engineer those. We also work with NASA, and we also have deep sea divers that go deep into the ocean. And if it's too deep in the ocean to go for oil and gas repairs, we send our remote control vehicles. Just a fun fact that I thought was fascinating was in the movie Titanic. If you ever saw the movie and it showed the footage underwater, we filmed that. Lots of cool things in our company. And like I said, happy to chat with you about anything and everything, training or oceaneering. Today, though, we're going to be talking about something that's been a project of mine for a while. And it's something near and dear to my heart, and because I think there's a purpose for it in this world. But I'd like to start off, let's refer back to our, what legacy did these guys leave? So in the chats, what do you think is the answer? And this one's probably pretty easy, but that's okay. Think about the legacy of these people. What did they leave behind? In your chat, go ahead and start typing in, who's the number one? The answer for number one. Yep, Elvis. Yeah, bring it on. King of rock and roll. Okay, what about number 2? Quantum theory, E equals mc squared. Yeah, Einstein, I see that one coming in. Albert Einstein for sure. Lots of legacy. Like, these are pivotal things that change the way we think and our lives. What about number 3? Changed our expectations of service delivery. Yeah, Jeff Bezos. If you've ever watched him in interviews, it's really interesting to see him from 1990s and what they asked him about. Okay, number 4, who's known for honesty? Yeah, Abe Lincoln, right? Honest Abe. He's on the penny. Okay, 5, who started Microsoft in his garage and he helped create the whole informational age? Yeah, Bill Gates, you got it. That's right. So you know all kinds of stuff today. All right, let's move on to number 6, cartoon innovation and magical world of guest experiences. Who's known for that, right? Disney parks, they're all over the world. They're amazing. They take customer service to a whole new level. All right, number 7, peace and unity. You've only got 2 left in the option up there. Yeah, Mandela. I did a lot of research on these, so if you have a different option or a different idea, it's okay. It's just something I found trends on the internet from. And the last one, humanitarian efforts. Mother Teresa, you got it. In case you missed it, these are the answers. Now, these are famous people that are world-renowned, left their mark on this world. And I think leadership does that too. Throughout today, we're going to talk about a couple different things, starting with your leadership legacy. And it's something that's personal, but I'll show you how the impact is important. I promised in the blurb about this session that you would hear stories. And in fact, I have quite a few for you. They are all real and they are not embellished. And I think it'll help give us an idea of what I started noticing when I started thinking about stories of how leaders impact us. The trends, actually, you're going to tell me what trends you believe are in there. We'll use some cool technology to poll the audience and use your cell phones to chime in. And then you can tell me what you're noticing as well. The last thing we'll talk about is joining the experience. And that's what this is. You're already on step 1, but the rest of it, well, we'll keep that till later, but that's to come. As with anything, starting with your why is very important. Training professionals, business professionals alike, if you want something to stick with someone or get buy-in, starting with your why, like Simon Sinek talks about, is important. So I think it's only fair that I'm transparent and open with you about how this whole topic got started. I had a dream job years ago. And by the way, I think you have more than one in your lifetime, but that's my first one, was years ago. I worked, well, I felt like I went to work, but I just left my house every day, worked on things, came home after talking to people. It didn't feel like work, and I loved it. I traveled, I trained all over the world, and my boss trusted me completely. He could hand me the keys to a project and say, here you go. Or I could approach him with an idea and I got to roll it out globally. Lots of trust, and it just was a great fit. Now, as you can imagine, I got to know his family, Christmas parties. I was there for a long time. He knew my family. And so it was a good relationship until one day it changed entirely and actually changed my whole life. And that's why I'm here today, because I came out and learned so much. But what happened was he assigned a project that day, and I came into his office just like any other day. Hey, I have a project for you. Okay, no problem. I opened my notebook, start taking notes. And the more he talked, the more it sounded not ethical. And I actually, this is a quote, I said, so you mean steal? And he said, yeah. By the way, he was the CIO. So it's not just somebody that's my boss, it's actually an executive, right? And I said, no, I'm not on board with that. But if you want me to help you in other ways, we can create our own versus stealing intellectual property. Well, as you can imagine, the environment did not ever get back to the way it was. In fact, it got very much the opposite. Now, I mentioned that because that's my why. After I left there, I found another job and I left because the trust was broken. And that's the impact of a leader, right? You heard that was great, and then it shifted. Well, I think it's important to figure out how you heal, right? A lot of people share things or they talk, get through things. And so that's what happened. I started sharing my story with my family or friends. And the interesting thing was, everyone has a story. In fact, I bet you have your own best boss story, worst boss story. And so we're going to talk about how that's important today. Because in my career, 10 years in the training industry, all different types of training, what I come to find is that it's often that companies cut leadership training. It's either not needed at this time, or it's a line item on a budget we can erase because we're in downturn. But I'll prove to you today that it's actually a very big piece of profit for the company if it's done right. But that's my why, because as I listen to people's pain, I thought, what can I do to make this better? So here I am, and you're in part of this experience, and I'm honored to be able to share with you today. Leaders influence emotions. That's the first part of the title of this session. And what we're going to do is an activity actually by ourselves. And you actually can just take a piece of paper on your desk. Pick a sticky note if you'd like. I'm also going to send out a document in the chat. And that way you can use it to download. It's just a simple handout, and it shows you 7 different spots. Let's see. I think I sent it. Awesome. Okay, so it should be out there. But if you don't get it, then that's all right. Essentially, what it will be looks like. Here we go. It looks like this. So if you have a sticky note, if you use the electronic notes, either one's great. I want you to number 1 through 7 on your sticky note, or open up the document shared in the chat. All right, and I'm doing this along with you, so just so you know, I think this is a good exercise for any leader. Now, what your purpose is today is that you'll be asking yourself, how do I want people to remember me in 5 years? People that reported to you or people that worked with you, how do you want them to describe you? Kind of like our Elvis Presley or Steve Jobs or Abe Lincoln, they left a legacy. And so as leaders, I'd like us to think about what legacy you want to leave behind. I'm going to give you about a minute or two to do this. I'm going to flip on some good Spotify music and think about this for yourself. Pick 7 adjectives of how you'd like to be described. All right, we'll give you a few more seconds to wrap up your list. All right, there we go. If you haven't finished it, that's all right. The purpose of this is something that you can keep on your desk day to day if you work from home now, or if you're back in the office, either way. But the purpose of it is to reflect and see what our intentions are as leaders. I feel like that's a big piece of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Both are key factors in strong leaders. And so if we're aware of what we're wanting, I think it helps us in all of our actions, what we say, how we behave, and it drives conversations in that way. So just hang on to these. This is personal. This is not for you to share, really. It's just for you to reflect and figure out, moving forward, how am I going to influence emotions in my teams? And so now that you've had time to self-reflect, we're going to have some fun. Starting off with little definitions, I want to make sure that we are on the same page here. So when I say good boss, best boss, bad, worst boss, okay, it's not defining their character per se. Sometimes it could be if it's unethical, but that's a whole nother thing. But when I say good boss or best boss, it means I loved working for them, or whoever told me the story loved working for them. Bad boss, worst boss just means they didn't click. Nothing happened that was magical. It wasn't great. The person didn't enjoy it, and there's some friction. So just a level set doesn't mean they're a bad person. Just want to define when I say those terms, because I'll say them throughout today because it applies. But that's what we're talking about when we're talking about those two. All right, let's put on our creative hats here. We're going to grab your cell phone, and what I'd like you to do is join me online. We're going to use these little jewels as our punch pads for answers. I know everybody keeps them around. I know I do, and so it should be nearby. If it's not, don't worry. You can also hop online on your computer. Where we're all going to be heading is right up here at the top. Find your internet on your phone or your computer, type in ahaslides.com. And when you do that, it'll ask you at the top, to add in the code. And the code is right next door over here. Type in ATD 2020. I see, we already got 12 people, 13. It's growing down here in the corner. Excellent. If you've never used these before, they're very fun. And really, it comes down to a couple competitors out in the market. So if you're curious on any of them, let me know, because I definitely did my homework on who does what. All right. Once you do that, you'll see my screen on your phone, and it'll track and go through it. The first question we're going to do, let's see, I still see some few people joining, so we're going to give it a little bit. But this program allows you to have a little bit of anonymous touch to it, and then it allows us to engage and collaborate in a really fun way. Let me check the chat and see if there's anybody having issues. Yes, thank you. Our host sent it out for you. So if you're having issues, it's in the chat if that's helpful. All right, we're going to move on to our question. You can still join if you're still trying to get the internet to work. The first question, you reflected on your leadership legacy. Now let's ask about someone else's. Name 2 to 3 traits of your best boss. So on your screen, you can type in one word, hit submit, and you can type in another one, just like you would a text message. All right, trustworthy is a good one. Strong. I'm going to add mine in there too. Look at them, so colorful and fun. Yeah, absolutely. Supportive, futuristic, collaborative, competent. Oh my gosh, you guys have great words. This is fabulous. Funny, organized, strong, fair. I see kind in there, fair in there, listener. All different kinds of great words. And this is what we like working for. Keep submitting them. You don't have to stop. I'll talk through it. So keep adding them if you want to. But this is what we like to work for. It generates our creativity. It feels engaged. And it's something that clearly you remember. I'd be willing to bet, even though I can't see you or in, where there's a group on the call, it's not one-on-one, I'd be willing to bet that you probably remember the first and the last name of your favorite boss. It's something that I found when I talked to so many people over years now of getting people's stories, that I found that people remember first and last names. I see took up my cause, understanding, visionary, trusting, trust, funny, leader. Yeah, so many great words. All right, now let's keep going. Stay on your phones. We have another question. Yes or no? Did you work extra hard for that best boss? Did you come in early, stay late, get the job done, do anything you can? And by the way, you probably enjoyed it because you loved them. Okay, keep them coming. I'll put in my answer there too. Look at that. 21 people. Fabulous. That's the power of a good boss. That's why our whole topic today is important for the businesses that say leadership training is okay, we don't really need it. That's important because you just prove that everybody works harder. All right, let's keep going. Let's have some fun with the juicy drama stuff. By the way, this one's about worst bosses. Keep it professional, have some fun, but no foul language, please. All right, I see them popping in there. Keep them coming. We'll do a review once they start slowing down with the shifting. And by the way, the reason we're doing this engagement part is because I don't think there is one person or one story that, rules the roost. And that's the reason I love the topic, is because everyone, look at you, you have examples. You've already had a worse boss and you know exactly what they were like. I see bipolar, controlling, lazy, liar, manipulative, micromanager. Look at how many I see. I see a couple of those. Yeah, people don't like this. Yeah, it creates a different environment. It's stuff that you have friction on, no connection, I see. All sorts. Yeah, critic, unaware, there's all kinds. All right, now let's keep going. Thinking about that worst boss still. Answer me this one. Have you ever quit a job because of a bad boss? I know there's lots of statistics on it, right? Because people talk about it and there's, but let's talk about it for our group. All right, we have some no's in there. That's good. We have some variety. And, to be honest, this is an experiment that I'm trying with you guys. And so it's putting it out there and let's have a conversation. So I didn't really have anything predicted. And I'm glad that everybody's being, themselves. All right, looks like we have the majority of it said yes with some no's, so that's just an example of a lot of people leave. It looks like it's about the same as what a typical percentage is of leaving. I can actually show you percentages instead here. So about 63% are the ones that left because of a bad boss. 36 hung in there and made it work. Well, thank you for participating. Let's talk about how emotions motivate people. You talked about the good boss, bad boss. What happened? You worked extra hard, or you left, or you probably, stuck your feet in the ground and hung on. Well, those environments create emotions. You're either happy, you're frustrated, you begrudge it when you have to go to work. Those create emotions, and those emotions motivate you to do things. And so these are the three ways I think motivations happen from emotions. Number one, engagement. Gallup has a Q12 survey that they send out every year, and you can pay for your company to participate. I've worked at a company that did it, so I know this very well. And it comes with results for your team, how much engagement they have, high engaged, low engaged, and then across the company. The Gallup study they've had 35 million people take the assessment, according to their website yesterday. And it's all about engagement. So if people are plugged in, they're working hard and productive, that's good for a company, right? That's why we're there, is to make things work. The bottom line is impacted. If you're disengaged, you're kind of unplugged from the wall, you don't really care about it, you're not working as hard. And so that's why the Gallup study figures out where companies are at because of engagement. So I feel like if you're not engaged, you're going to have an impact as well. Number two, loyalty. I put this in there because I feel like that's the trait we feel. You feel loyal to someone that's your best boss, that you're engaged with, you believe in the company, you find alignment with where they're going and where you want to go. And if you don't, you're not loyal, you leave. You're disconnected, you're not engaged, and it's more of, I don't have a loyalty to stay here. You're just a company I'm working at. So I feel like that without the loyalty, it motivates people. The last one is discretionary effort. Now, this one is one of my favorite items I've picked up along the way of my career since that story I told you. I've met some amazing people, had some phenomenal jobs, and really have a well-rounded experience base because of that one event I shared with you. The discretionary effort is something that I've trained on before. And what it is that extra oomph. Discretion, by definition, is your choice. It's up to your discretion if you say this or that. Well, discretionary effort's the same thing. So let's break it down and give you an example. Let's say Sarah here is working at a company that has an annual performance evaluation like you see on the screen. There's 5 categories. 5 is obviously the best one, exceeds expectations, and number 1 is not so great. Now 3 is pretty typical. If you've ever had a performance evaluation, a lot of times this one is the fail safe, you met the expectations, good job, keep up your job, keep doing your good job. So for 3, that's what you pay for. Let's say Sarah makes $100,000, just to keep the numbers nice and even if we do percentages. So if you're paying Sarah that much, then you have a team of Sarahs, they're all working, they're all meeting your expectation. Would you rather have a team of 3s or a team of 5s? By the way, the 5s still make $100,000, but they have discretionary effort that they gave more than you're paying for because they're engaged, they're loyal, and they're connected. So that's discretionary effort. The 5s and the 4s are putting forth more than you really are paying them for. And that's good for business, right? It's a good exchange. But also, I just think it's the right thing to do. When they're engaged, they're happy. It's a win-win for them personally, they develop, and the company wins. So discretionary effort is how I feel like the employees impact the business as well, because it's that performance part, because they drive that, and that's coming from how they feel. Let's talk about some stories. As promised, I told you I have some stories for you. Like I said, these are real. They're not embellished. So after a couple of stories, I'm going to poll the audience, and we're going to see what you believe the trends are. Now, I'm going to share on these stories the key event. I'll lead you up to the event of what happened that these people told me about, and then I'm going to stop. And that's because I don't want to have a bias influence on you when you do the poll. I will tell you after the poll what all happened. This first story comes from a West Texas sales guy, and he was really energetic, very outgoing when I met him. He used to sell at a small mom and pop company in West Texas, small town, lived with his wife and kids, and he enjoyed his job. Over time, we figured out and watched how money was disappearing. So he actually became a project of his to figure out and see if he could fix it. Come to find out, he figured out where it was going to. He figured out that the CFO was embezzling money. He got all the data, and a very excitable guy. He was, you could tell when people share their story, their tones change, and his tone changed when he shared that part. He went to the CEO. He said, here's what I found. Unfortunately, this is what I think his CFO is doing. Now the CEO looked at him and said, how dare you turn on one of your own? I don't know about you, but it's not particularly what I would have expected. So that's the key event for this story. Let's continue. My hairstylist, actually, how you sit, and ladies, if you're sitting in a chair, normally you're gabbing about stuff. And so this was actually one of the first stories I gathered. She worked in a salon with 10 chairs on the right side and 10 chairs on the left side. And the right side had all of the haircuts. The left side had all of the hair colors. Now that's important to the story because when you go in to get a cut and color, you'll see 2 people, one on the left and one on the right. People kept coming to my hairstylist over time and complaining that the colorist smelled like marijuana. So strong that it smelled like they had just done marijuana. This continued on, and my hairstylist collected enough uncomfortable clients that raised it up to her. So she goes to the hair salon owner and mentions what's happening, mentioned that she didn't like her clients feeling uncomfortable and that it wasn't the right thing for an environment at work. The hair salon owner only said, so, not exactly what I would have expected either, but like I said, that's a key event for this hairstylist. Think about how that would make you feel and how much effort you would give to work once that had happened. And we'll poll the audience in a minute. The intern. This is a doozy. So this story comes from a good friend of mine who was going to school to study golf course management. It's a very niche market for those majors at school, but the people that do them love them. The goal is to go work at a golf course and manage everything that goes into that. Pretty self-explanatory. So my friend comes to about junior year in college, very excited, applied for a world-renowned golf course here in the States. And it's up north. I can't remember the name, but if I did, that's still not the point of the story. So he goes, day one, he's packed. He moved up there for the summer. He's packed, ready to go, excited. I mean, he's walking into the Mecca, the place where he studied, where he wants to go meet with the people that do what he loves to do. Now, the summer didn't go quite as expected. And in fact, starting on day one, his supervisor at this golf course refused and belittled anyone who called my friend anything other than the intern. Essentially, he was nameless. They were not allowed to call him by his real name the entire summer. That's just one little story. There's other things that happened, but to me, that's a summation of how it made him feel. He didn't have a name. It didn't matter. Last story of the series. And by the way, these are all not the same person. They're all different, but I grouped them together based on how these people told me about them. So 2 student teachers. I saw a thumbs up go on. Yes, can't live without teachers, right? Well, these 2 student teachers don't have any relation to each other. One's in Dallas, one's in Houston, different ages, went to different schools, and student taught at totally different places. I put them together because they had the same experience. As you know, most people know that at the end of your teaching years of going to college, to get your degree, you have to do a semester of student teaching. Great idea. You get to apply what you know and practice and learn from some other professionals that are trainers or teachers. So the day comes, these 2 people, they individually go to their schools, they're excited, they've packed their lunch. And I don't know about you, but first day of a new job or school, a lot of times that's scary. You don't know people or where to go, where the bathrooms are, or where to park. So they get there and they're still both excited. They go to the front desk points them to the homeroom, go see so-and-so. They walk into the front door of this classroom, find their teacher that they'll be working for through the semester. And both of them had something to the effect of, just so you know, I don't need you here. I don't have time for you, and you're gonna have to figure this out on your own. To 2 eager beavers that want to help and want to learn. Now, those are stories about leaders and the key events that made them feel a certain way. Now it's your turn. Think about, in those situations, how you feel, how you would feel, I guess, and how you think that made those people feel. Take it one step further after you think about that and think about the impact of the business, if it's a school or the golf course. Are those people going to give a lot of effort, a lot of loyalty, a lot of, a lot of work to the school, to the company, or not? Go ahead and pick up your phones and let's wake them back up and do another question. You may have a screen that says reload or flip to the next slide, and then it will update for you. Okay, yeah, very nice. So how much engagement, loyalty, and effort would you expect from those employees? All right, so far we're at 100. We got, none. That's a good one too. And there's not a wrong answer. That's why I couldn't do a leaderboard. By the way, with AHA Slides and Slido, they do really cool leaderboards where you can ask questions and then people are ranked with answers. But there's not a wrong answer to this. I'm really interested in what you guys think. Okay, there's one for high. Yeah, I could see that. If you turn around and have motivation to prove them wrong or overcome, yeah. It looks like we got enough. I think everybody's on there. All right. So overall, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this real quick. We're gonna reference it later on. But the overall feel is that it's a low engagement. People may or may not dedicate a lot of effort to their job, which as training professionals, we know impacts the business. Now we are oftentimes the middle piece between the business and employee development and people getting to the next job or succession planning. All right, so let me give you the back into the stories to all of those. No cliffhangers here. The salesperson completely quit his job and moved across Texas into Houston, which is how I met him. And he told me why he had moved. So that's how it came up in conversation. He works for a small sales company and is fabulously happy. The hairstylist, she is one of my favorites. She actually studied color, the other side of the salon. She studied it, got certified in it, left the salon, started her own salon, and now is featured in magazines. So really great success story there. She was actually the first person where I thought, I think bad bosses help you live your best life. So anyway, food for thought. The golf course person left golf course management entirely, never to return. He only does golf as a hobby, but he's happy in the world of IT, and he currently works for Microsoft. So I think he did okay. And the last one about the student teachers. So the one in Dallas quit teaching for a while, didn't come back. Yeah, good for the stylist, right? Yeah, these are all real, you guys. This is why I love this topic, because it's so real and people's pain is there. And if we can help spread the word, imagine how much better it would be off for people. Anyway, so wrap up the teachers, right? So the one in Dallas quit teaching for years. He actually went into sales at a Verizon, T-Mobile, kind of floundered around trying to find his way. But who could blame him, right? You go to school for so long and then you get slapped. The one in Houston, though, she's an interesting story. She actually had immense amounts of courage. Not only did she stay in teaching, she stayed at that school and she outsmarted them, did different things, and like this one on this chart, highly motivated to find her own way despite them. Now, that didn't come with, that came with tears and a lot of heartache. So those are the emotions. But like this person, like the 44.5%, she flipped it around, still in teaching, and loved it. She chose the best part over the worst part. Yeah, you like hearing what happened? I don't blame you. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Those are like big suspenseful moments and be like, I don't know what happened. All right, here's some more stories. So this first one comes from the world of agriculture. Very large ag company here in Texas. I think they actually have a couple spots around the US. The person that the story is about went to college and was going to school rather, and needed a job. This was her part-time job going through college, was at this agriculture company. Her job was to go through a 50-page single space line item list of a huge mess that her boss had just inherited from his predecessor. So he hired her and her project was to work through that 50-page list. So she does, and they're closing out line items and invoices and trying to make sure that things are closed for the business and getting rid of all the errors. She does so for a while and compiles enough information to give to her boss, who, by the way, was fully supportive, anything she needed, and they had a great relationship. She gave them to him and said, look, here's all the data. That vendor over there owes us $2 million. And he said, they refused to pay that. She said, well, here's all the information. Here's all the data. Like, it's right here. He calls a meeting. They fought, of course, because that's a lot of money to any company or any person. And by the end of the meeting, the supervisor walked out of there with a $2 million check from the vendor. Now, that's a huge impact for the business because she was supported. She had the freedom to do her job, and she was good at her job. Her supervisor supported her and also walked in there confidently, trusting her knowledge, right? Yeah, I see a yay. Exactly. The champion. Champions are hard to find. And this is the type of leader that plows the way for you, like this trail in the picture. They actually part waters and help you get to a certain career path or open doors for you so your wings can flourish and open. This story comes from an IT professional. He's been in IT for about 35 or 40 years. and he vividly remembered the name, first and last name of the supervisor that was like, it was his champion. The overall feeling, it was interesting. This one wasn't a single event that happened. It was a whole feeling of years of working for this leader. They had open communication. They were told about, like, he had a group of like four or five out of a bigger team that was like a core group. They got information that the others didn't. They were trusted. And anytime that IT broke and websites were down, Y2K happened, they were on it no matter where and when they were. So the champion creates that environment of creativity and freedom. And this was years of ongoing time. Best Buy, this one was fun. He actually got a job, my friend, he got a job working for one of his own friends. This friend was the supervisor at Best Buy and hired the gentleman that the story is about. So he starts, the supervisor says, "Congratulations, you're qualified for the job. I'll fire you if I have to." Now, the person that told me this story, the employee that got hired, loved that statement because he said, from then on, we had high respect the entire time. There was communication, and it was such a good working environment. We were business at work, we were personal at home, and friends outside of work, but the respect and the communication was perfect. So Best Buy, and it's just the environment that leader created. And like the other one, doesn't have a key event. It was just ongoing environment. The last one of the day comes from a veterinarian who is currently, actually just finished up ER rotations at a residency. Now, as I promised you, all these are from totally different fields, and I hope you noticed that, different ages, different everything, but they all boil down to how the leader makes them feel, particularly with this vet for ER rotations. She told me that her supervisor supported her, protected their team, fought for their team, and when she had to go into ER, she was actually a specialist in cancer, so oncology. ER was not her thing. But the leader, knowing that she wasn't interested in doing ER, and knowing how uncomfortable it made her feel, and knowing her strengths could be used somewhere else, he fought to change up their rotations. So she enjoyed what she wanted to learn and where she wanted to go, and they still had coverage for the ER. But lots of support and lots of a good environment. All right, pick up your phones. We're going to test out one more time and see what you think about those stories. That was Best Buy, the veterinarian, the ag story, and the champion. Excellent. Yeah, keep them coming. All right, so far we have high, very high, and that's the beauty of it, right? You guys already said you worked extra hard for a Best Boss. These, in fact, were all of their Best Boss stories. The Best Buy person worked there for a long time until he had to leave for other reasons. The veterinarian still at school, still engaged and still connected with the supervisor. The agriculture student that caught the $2 million error, she actually worked there for years to come. And the champion also worked there for years to come. And they only left because the supervisor, it reversed that. The supervisor left before any of the team members did. Thanks for participating. I hope you see the differences between the two, because I think it's important for us to compare. And as we go and talk to our leaders and help convince them and influence them day to day, I think it's important for us to help them see that leadership training is important. It's not just something that's, fluffy and nice to have. Now on the screen, you'll see this is a comparison of the trend. Now on the left, it's kind of small, but over here is high, very high. Then we have high, medium, low, and none. The top are the worst stories, the one with embezzling, just the unhappy ones. We'll go with that. The bottom one is the positive stories. And as you can see, that's the trend. When I started talking to people, that's what I found as well. Now it's your turn. I promised you in the agenda we would talk about joining the experience. We have another session you're welcome to join. This one is a particular type of breed of session for the conference. This is a first part where we talk about the idea. The second part, you can come back. We'll talk about what you learned, and I'll have some more stories and more things for you. The first thing is go talk to 3 people. 3 people. Ask them their story of best boss and worst boss. Sit back and watch and listen to how it impacted them. Then we're going to engage our greater global network. This is a virtual world now with COVID, so let's think differently and let's think new. And what we're going to do is I've provided some graphics that you can download and post on your LinkedIn account. When you post them, then you can tag them with "Everyone's Got a Story." That one is a brand new hashtag that I invented for this session, so it'll only be the topics that we have. Let me go ahead and share the graphics with you. And they're also inside of the Whova app. So if you would like to download those, it's a PDF because that's the format type it had to be. Take a screenshot, do whatever you'd like. And if you post them, you talk to your network, I talk to my network. The hashtag connects us all, and then we can see what the impact is. Let's grow the impact. Let's share the story and help people grow more awareness of better bosses. Here's a picture of the different graphics. You can see they're pretty much the different questions we asked today. And if you post them, it could look something like this. I've already posted one this morning, and you'll be able to see it flow through LinkedIn. Now we have 1 minute left, and I'm going to show you real quick on LinkedIn what it looks like. When you go up here into LinkedIn, you can type in hashtag "Everyone's Got a Story." You'll be able to see all of our posts and even comments coming in already. So let's make a movement. Let's go talk to people. Let's engage with everyone and make a difference, because you as training professionals are leaders, whether you have a title of it or not. Remember, people like feeling engaged. Good environments create great things to propel our companies, our careers, and our personal lives. Thanks for your time. As always, feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. I'm here to connect people and work with you on whatever you need. I look forward to talking to you on November 4th in our next session.